welcome to the 30 Days of Qigong to Better Health. Today is day number 18, and we're working with the healing sound that benefits the kidneys and the urinary bladder. My name is Chris Shelton. You know, the kidneys, according to Chinese medicine, are such a valuable organ because they are responsible for your overall longevity, how long your life will be, as well as your overall constitution, meaning how well you fight off disease. The kidneys are predetermined as far as their strength goes at the time of conception between God, your parents, and your environment. And this will predetermine how long your life will be and like I said, your overall constitution, how well you fight off the disease. But the kidneys are like a battery. As you age, this kidney qi or kidney essence begins to decline. And the more stress that you have in your life, or if you go through any trauma of fear or fright or shock or some kind of shock to the system, this will actually deplete the kidney qi even faster. So even though physical exercise is important, I love doing physical exercise. You know, it's a mind, body, and spirit, you know, physical, mental, emotional, and your spiritual component. All three in Chinese philosophy are equally as important. And a lot of times people focus on the external and not enough on the internal. So it's a daily practice to be able to focus on these organs and what their overall function and vitality is and the importance that they play in our bodies. So according to Chinese medicine, these kidneys, not only do they work with the urinary bladder, but they're also the basis of the brain, the bones, the bone marrow. They're also the foundation of all the major glands in the body. They house what is known as yin and yang of the body. So like, for example, kidney yin is the basis for all your fluids, your sweat, your blood, your cerebral fluids, spinal fluids, digestive fluids. The yang component of the kidneys is the heat or the motive force, which helps to move blood and qi around the body, but also helps with all the assimilation or transformational processes that happen inside the body, i.e. like digestion. That's why they say in Chinese nutrition that you should not eat cold or raw things because it actually will put out the stomach fire. You need heat in order to create this assimilation process and this transformation. An egg itself contains within itself the ability to transform into a chick, but it's not until you apply the application of heat that a chick could actually come about. So the negative emotions is fear, fright, or shock. And shock, when we say this, it could be anything that we've seen or witnessed or had to endure, like if you grew up in an abusive household or where there's a lot of fighting, screaming, those kinds of things, or let's say you survived a severe illness, you're going through chemotherapy or radiation and the side effects of that. These kinds of things will shock the system. Or if you're somebody that suffers from PTSD, maybe you were in the military and saw action overseas somewhere, you know, these kinds of things will deplete the kidney qi, and then from there, this was what will weaken our overall constitution and ultimately shorten our lifespan. So we're out for trying to restore balance within the kidneys by letting go of this fear. The positive virtue that comes forth is a virtue of gentleness as well as willpower. So if your kidney qi is strong, the person will have the will to move forward, will have the will to move beyond. And it's such a simple practice to do. The healing sound for the kidneys is fu, like if you have a lower backache, like fu, because the kidneys also control or have a big influence on the low back, as well as the reproductive system and all the sexual organs. So what I want you to do is I want you to focus on the kidneys themselves, that as you inhale, we're going to pull the breath. You can actually now imagine a blue cloud, because the color blue or black, they say, is associated with the kidneys. Imagine this blue cloud filling up into the kidneys, and the kidneys are located right opposite the navel on the low back. So you could actually place, well, as we go to do these practices today, if you can, if it's not too uncomfortable, you could actually place the hands on the kidneys. And as you inhale, feel the breath, feel the blue light fill up into the kidneys, exhaling. And we're going to do that over and over again. And during these video series, I only do the healing sounds several times, audibly then inaudibly. But as your own practice, you could turn this into you go from like a 10 or 15 minute practice to an hour or so. And you may find that there's more than one emotion associated with that organ that comes up, or one or more circumstance actually that comes up that's associated with that internal organ. And that's okay. Just allow that to come through and to come out as we're peeling away the layers of an onion, trying to get to this much more refined essence, which if our beingness, if we're not carrying around all this weight of the world, as well as the weight of what our ego presents to us, but also the weight or the burden of all these negative emotions, the more that we shed that stuff off, not only physically, but emotionally and energetically, more that we shed off that excess weight, then a lighter our energetic being becomes. And to me, when I hear somebody say that to communicate with God or to communicate with the universe, whatever you want to call it, to me that communication comes about as you shed away this excess and become a much lighter spiritual being. And when this happens too, then the mind becomes much calmer. You have more opportunities or circumstances of this centeredness and quietude, which then allows you to actually hear or to develop this all-knowingness with your higher source. Okay, so very simple practice again. We're going to start off from our Wu-Ji posture, either standing or seated, and with our feet out about shoulders width apart, and our knees are slightly bent, tucking the sacrum, pressing back the Ming Men, tucking the chin, pressing up at the crown point at the top of the head, and then placing the tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth behind the teeth as if saying the letter N. The breath is long, steady, even, and deep into the lower abdomen. Gently pressing back the spine, the Shendao point, which is the acupuncture point between the shoulder blades on the spine, hollowing out the armpits. The breath long, steady, even, and deep into the lower abdomen. And then we begin by inhaling, connecting to your source, whatever that may be. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. In. Pulling down the heavens 3 times. Exhale for heaven, earth, and mankind. Inhaling up. Exhale as you toss. Like you're tossing a stone, gazing to the tips of the fingers, and allow for any excessive thoughts, feelings, or emotions to flow off, going several feet away from the body and down deep into the ground. Any tension in the shoulders and the neck, allow for that to roll away. And then from there, we slow down, coming back to the center. Pulling down the heavens 3 times. Inhale. Exhaling. Inhale. And exhaling. Gather. Exhale. Bring the feet a little bit closer together, bending the knees slightly, start to bounce. Focusing on all the major joints of the body and gently bouncing on the balls of the feet, which then stimulate the bubbling well points, which is the kidney 1, or the beginning of the kidney acupuncture meridian. So from here, focusing on the ankles and allow for the gentle bouncing to release tension from the ankles. Next, the knees, any tension there, pain, discomfort, guiding out through the ankles, out through the feet, and down deep into the ground. Hips, groin, low back. Allow for that to release as well, guiding out through the legs, out through the feet, and deep into the ground. Center of the back and chest, on the spine in between the shoulder blades. Releasing that out as a dark cloud of energy, guiding out through the body, out through the legs, through the feet, and deep into the ground. Next, the fingers and wrists. Shaking out any tension or tightness from the wrists, hands, and fingers. Elbows, shoulders, head and neck. Releasing out all tension and tightness from these areas as well, guiding it out through the arms, out through the fingers, and deep into the ground. And then from here, we're going to collect the golden light from the earth as we inhale, pulling up through the body, beyond the top of the head. Exhale, dropping out any dark, heavy energy as a dark cloud deep into the ground. Inhaling, and release. And inhale, and release. And then from there, we're going to step back out into a Wuji posture. Begin by shaking the tree, inhaling all the way up the body, and exhale all the way down. Inhaling up, exhaling down, inhaling, and two more, inhaling, and again, and then pulling back the energy 3 times. Exhale. Inhale. And exhaling, pulling down the heavens, releasing out any heat or vibration from the body, and exhaling. Beginning with the center and balance meditation. Start off by standing in your Wuji posture, tucking the chin, pressing over the crown point. Tip the tongue behind, curled behind the roof of the mouth, as if saying the letter N. Breath long, steady, even, and deep into the lower abdomen, slightly bending the knees, feet out about shoulders width apart, tucking the sacrum, which then presses back the Ming Men right opposite the navel. From here, placing the smiling face on the top of the head, and imagine from there that warm oil begins to flow down, enveloping the entire scalp, the forehead, the brow bone, eyebrows and eyes, the side of the face, side of the cheeks and nose, flowing through the lower cheeks and into the lips, into the chin and jaw structure, flowing and pouring into the neck and throat, touching everything, increasing your awareness of your body. Through the shoulders, through the biceps, elbow creases, and forearms, through the wrists, the palms of the hands leading all the way out to the fingertips. And from there, enveloping the entire chest, the flanks of the body, the abdomen, the lower abdomen, the groin, through the thighs, through the knees, you feel the shins. This warm oil envelops every tissue into the ankles and the top of the feet and toes, and allow for this warm oil to flow down deep into the ground. And from there you feel the entire front of the body as well as the left and the right sides of the body. Feeling everything. And then from the top of the head we begin to melt down through the back, increasing our awareness now of what's behind us. Starting at the top of the head, begin melting down through the back of the ears, the scalp, the neck, the shoulders, the triceps and elbows, the forearms, the wrists, the back of the hands, leading all the way out to the fingertips. And from there, enveloping the entire upper back, mid back, low back, the waist, through the buttocks and hamstrings, through the back of the knees and calves and ankles, heels. Allowing for this warm oil to flow down deep into the ground. And now feel the entire back from head to toe, and feel as much in the front as you do in the back, as well as to the left and to the right. Now connecting with your source power, imagine a white light penetrates through the brain. Feel the left and right hemispheres of the brain. Feel the space between the brain. Feel behind the eyes, the nerve endings that connect from the eyes to the center of the brain, Feeling the pituitary, the pineal gland. Feel the entire brain, the brain stem, the sinuses, the inner ear, the face, the teeth, the tongue, the jaw, the muscles, all the capillaries and veins, blood vessels, each of the vertebrae of the neck, the arteries that branch out, through the center of the neck and throat, the muscles surrounding them, now melted into the shoulders. Feeling the upper back, upper chest, shoulders, center of the biceps, triceps, feeling the muscles, the arteries, and the inside aspect of the arms, the bones, the connective tissues, into the elbows, the center of the forearms, the center of the wrists, all the small bones, tendons, ligaments of the hands and fingers. This white light continues to melt down, touching now every rib. Feel the ribs as they wrap around to the spine on the back. Feel the heart and lungs, the liver and gallbladder, the stomach and spleen, the intestines, the urinary bladder, the kidneys, the pelvic bone, the sacrum, tailbone, hips. Feel all the muscles, all the blood vessels, arteries that flow down the inner aspect of the legs, femoral arteries, the muscles surrounding them and the femurs, the bones of the legs, the center of the knees, the center of the shins and calves, ankles, all the small bones and ligaments of the feet and toes. And you allow for this white light to flow down deep into the ground. And from there, just imagine the roots grow out from the bottom of the feet down to the center core of the earth. And as we inhale, we begin to feel our lower abdomen, our visceral cavity up with golden light as we inhale. Then as we exhale, descending any dark turbid energy back down, out the legs, out the roots, and down deep into the ground. Inhaling, feeling the golden light come up into the organs and the organ cavity itself. Exhaling, back down, inhaling. Breath long, steady, even and deep, using your mind intent, staying present with your practice, with my voice. Inhaling, exhaling, releasing out all toxicity. Inhale, gather, release. And then from there, on the next inhalation, going directly into small heaven breathing, microcosmic orbit, inhaling straight up the spine, up over the top of the head, down the front of the face, the chest, the abdomen, and then straight up the spine again like a pump, stimulating the central nervous system. Exhaling down through the midline of the body, flowing through the perineum, which is the acupuncture point between the sex glands, anal sphincter muscles, still keeping the tip of the tongue curled behind the mouth, or the roof of the mouth, like as if you're saying the letter N. Anal sphincter muscle slightly contracted to close off the lower gate, and then use this as a pump to pump the energy straight up the spine, over the top of the head. You can imagine a blue light, a blue ball of energy, whatever it takes in order for you to be mindful of your practice, inhaling, exhaling. You could use your hands to help to guide, but if you feel that that's too much of a distraction, you could just stand in your wuji or sit in your wuji posture. Actually, these meditations, center balance, microcosmic orbit, all the healing sounds could also be done from a lying down position too. You just imagine a white light or a blue light circulating through these two vessels. Last one. And guiding the energy down into the lower dantian. And then from there, finishing by pulling down the heavens 3 times. Inhale and exhale. Inhale exhale. Inhaling and exhaling. And then from there, you could place your hands on your kidneys, which are located right opposite the navel on the low back, or you could keep your hands still resting at your sides. But to me, sometimes it's better to help you increase the mind attentive as to where the kidneys are located. Begin to pull the breath into the kidneys. And as you do this, you can imagine a blue mist or a blue cloud filling up around the kidneys. Now focusing on the negative emotion of fear, fright, or shock. Is there something that you're afraid of? Is there something that you've had to go through, that you had to endure, that you survived, that created some kind of shock or turmoil in your life? Feel that now as though it's just occurred. Or if you feel that there's an underlying fear that runs your life, bring that to the surface. What are you afraid of? And from here, making the foo sound, inhaling. Foo. Doing one more audibly. And now underneath your breath, inhale. If you feel that's too uncomfortable, to rest your hands back there, gently relax with your hands at your sides. As you inhale, feel blue cloud or blue mist circulate around the kidneys. As you exhale, allow for that negative emotion of fear, fright, and shock to leave. Allowing for the positive virtue of willpower and gentleness to come forth. And as the fear leaves and the willpower and the gentleness comes in, we help to strengthen the overall vitality of the kidneys, which then helps the overall underlying functions of the rest of the body. As the kidney chi is stronger, you feel the connection into, or the kidneys have with the ears. And you feel the energy of the ears, the sense of hearing becomes stronger if you suffer from ringing of the ears, tinnitus, dizziness, vertigo, Meniere's disease. By strengthening the kidneys, you could help to reduce the side effects of those symptoms. And doing 2 more, inhale. Last one. And then from there, pulling down the heavens 3 times, inhaling and exhaling. Inhale, exhale, inhale. Feeling restored, rejuvenated, feeling the will, power much stronger. And then place the hands over the lower abdomen, 1 inch below the navel. And again, focusing on these kidneys. And imagine a white mystical pearl that forms underneath the hands as you inhale, gathering the energy of your body in the space of the room. As you exhale, you feel the vitality of this white light restore into the kidneys. You begin to feel the warmth radiate around the back, or the sides to the back. With each inhalation, the pearl gets thicker and brighter, and with each exhalation, you feel the vitality increase. Last one, inhale. Feel the white pearl, and then as you exhale, feel the white light restore the vitality of the kidneys. And then from there, slowly open up your eyes, shaking out your legs. Wow, such a great practice. These healing sound practices are some of my favorite practices to teach to the public because they're so powerful and they're so easy to do. And in Chinese medicine, Chinese philosophy, the more simplified something is, the more profound its effects that it has. And in this case here, we're looking for these profound effects and also having tools in order to get rid of things or emotions and trauma that occur in our day-to-day life. So as you do this practice, you could do it as a 10 or 15 minute practice, or you could do it as an hour. Focus on something that causes fear, fright, or shock. You may feel that different images come up. Whatever comes up for you, allow for that to release. And utilizing the underneath the breath technique of doing the fu sound underneath the breath. Anytime you're in a situation that you're afraid, just imagine, you don't even have to close your eyes. Just imagine blue light flowing into the kidneys as you inhale. Then as you exhale, whatever you're afraid of or whatever's making you really nervous, you imagine that leaving as a dark cloud, going several feet away from the body and deep into the ground. So we want to make sure that you get rid of it and not suppress it, which then creates disease. Thank you for joining me for day number 18 for the 30 days of Qigong to better health. My name is Chris Shelton, and I have a saying that Qigong is a simple practice with profound results. Until tomorrow, may the Qi be with you.